So far, this has been the most bolt-on kit we've ever had. I'm at SEMA, of course, West Coast, seeing cool trucks, some customers like this one, but I was just on the East Coast, went to Philly, delivered a customer truck, very satisfying, 97 12 valve. Let's talk about that truck. So we got the second gen here, back in Humeville, Pennsylvania, so that Glenn can have it as his firewood truck.
Well, how was the ride?
Pretty good. We made a road trip out of it the best we could. Ron was with me.
Oh, great.
And I focused on making sure she enjoyed a road trip.
Co-pilot?
Co-pilot.
I'll get the video.
We hit gas stations and got candy. Hi, my name's Daryl.
I'm Heather.
It might look like something you're going to take to a truck show, but Glenn's going to work it. He's got a skid steer, got a dump truck, and otherwise he can't stand that he hasn't had this thing to go do firewood. So let's take a little walk around this second gen so you can see what we've got here, and that it's a kit that you can put on any second gen. So this suspension system is designed to go from about -3 to plus 11 tall. Normally I try to go just a little bit shorter, but things ran into things and this is where it ended up, and it's pretty good end result. It is all bolt-on, so it's the most bolt-on suspension we've ever had completely. There's a couple tiny little mods due to the truck, otherwise this just bolts on. 14 inches of travel, and it rides great all the way up, all the way down, or slightly off the stops, and very good right in the middle. Really good ride height selection and nice and smooth, and lots of options to make moving this truck more fun than this. But that wasn't the goal with this truck. This is just set a preset ride height and drive. And he's got 3 of those to pick from. Sitting on ride height number 2 right now, and all we did to set that up was make sure he can have full lock on most street settings and not hit the fenders or the bumper. And if he was afraid of hitting anything, of course, he could just raise it up just a little bit. And ride height number 1 and ride height number 3 are just extremes that you can do for fun. I'll go ahead and set them now so you can see what they look like. Just key on and hit number 3. Okay, so that's its highest ride height setting. It is not against the stops, but it's close, and it drives perfectly fine at that height. And once we have these compressors shut off, we'll go ahead and go all the way down to number 1, and then we'll drop it all the way. Okay, so we're going to go back to ride height number 2, and we'll talk about a few axle options underneath it. So I'm going to cover a few details on the truck while it's up on the trailer so we can see well underneath. This is an early second gen, so it has a narrow tie rod. It has a sway bar that angles out at the ends and has vertical mounting. Of course, it's got the stock Dana 60. It is a single wheel rear axle truck. So the third gen axle is an advantage in the front over the Dana 60. I would think about personally doing a third gen axle in the front of this. It's an easy swap if you're starting. We have everything already ready to swap out this Dana 60 in this kit for an AAM third gen axle 03 to 13. Gives you so many advantages. No crazy central axle disconnect, bigger disc brakes, better ball joint options, and most significantly, high pinion. Using the stock Dana 60 from a second gen, you will absolutely have to clock your transfer case down, and unless you're not going to run a drive shaft at all, you need to run a set of spin frees. With a 47RH, we used a gusset for the transfer case to allow clearancing for the clocked drive shaft to fit through. The high pinion axle will make a lot of difference on what you have to do to either clock the transfer case to make the drive shaft live or to run the spin freeze or not. It includes our one-piece rear drive shaft that we try to include on every build. Makes such a difference over a two-piece drive shaft, and we can get it for you for any application. Choices, of course, on rear axle for a second gen would be 70 single wheel, 80 single wheel, or 80 dually. And I want to make sure that if somebody wants to put a third gen rear in, we're ready for that. Same thing on these bag brackets, either single wheel or dually. The brake lines need rerouted, and we put them right in front of that little cage, and we include those in the kit. Little brake line relocation brackets are needed to use the stock brake line on this 14-inch travel kit. Because we've done it with our regular steering, I do believe it's possible to run the late anti-sway bar with this long travel air suspension, but right now I'm recommending that you get an early anti-sway bar. So far, this has been the most bolt-on kit we've ever had, with very few modifications required to the chassis of the truck. Drilling basically is what it takes, and you've got a long travel, high performance air suspension kit. This suspension and steering system rides well at any height, high and low and in the middle. It rides softer than about anything you can get, and it certainly rides softer and tows better than anything you can get. These large rear airbags would outdo the axle by tens of thousands of pounds. So we've got a truck delivered to the customer. It rides smooth and soft and has a lot of different attitudes and adjustability, ready to work or play, tow anything, better than any stock arrangement as far as towing is concerned. And it is 100% bolt-on.
Let me go.
Excited about it too. You know,
Yeah.
we don't normally entertain very many people's wives over their truck project. It's the opposite
Oh, okay.
way.
Yeah. Well, she was excited for me because, again, I never did anything like this for myself. I never put money into anything that I ever really had.
Right. You're gonna feel you got a pretty responsible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can tell it feels smooth. But it feels smooth. The road feels smooth. That's what I'm.
Yeah. Oh,
Before
yeah.
this thing was like
Very
it would
soft,
chatter.
especially the rear.
Yeah. There's a couple bumps up here. Little bumps here, though.
If you want to see what the hard parts look like, we got them laying out ready to go into a crate to ship out, and I just thought I'd show them a little bit so we saw the hard parts that go into this. Now there's still airbags, and there's still shocks, and there's still a ton of hardware, rod ends, etc. like that, and brake lines, some other things. But what we weld and fab in the shop for a second gen long travel air suspension, at least this one is a single wheel, not a dually, and it is a Dana 70, not an 80, but we got all those parts. What the parts pile looks like. We're looking at a front long arm 4-link with all the bag brackets and a transmission cross member brace, anti-sway bar, blah blah blah. No bags and shocks shown or rod ends, bushings in this video. Then down the middle here we got a steering kit, dual steering stabilizer, set up for 14 inches of travel on the suspension. And then the rear here is for a second gen, that's a dually Dana 80. Again, everything but the shocks and the bags and the rod ends mostly sitting here ready to go.